every child in the ones are discounted right here.
What about the disparity when you look at on race? Like right now, they're legalizing marijuana. When you look at so many of our babies who've been incarcerated, who are doing serious time,
Right.
for, for having it or selling marijuana.
But they're
And
legalizing
now-
marijuana for medical use. See, our kids now, they went in there because they were sick. Now they're gonna get them on.
Well, but see, yeah, but it's really, when you think about it, it's based on where it is,
Yes.
because
Right.
some people are not doing it for the sake of medical issues,
Thank you.
But once you started locking up, again, going back to what Attorney Levin said, when you were locking up the brown faces, we didn't have this concern. But now, when you got, people of other races being locked up at the same rate as those with brown faces, now let's have a conversation about making it legal. Okay, so now since you're making it legal, what you gonna do about all those brothers who sit behind bars for the same thing you doing legally now?
He the one started that somebody else's baby stuff talking to his own set of people. They just didn't listen.
Exactly.
But now since because even in the non-African American race, suicide has always been an issue. They were not as concerned about the external crime. But now, see, that's the thing, I don't like that change of places. See, now they have to be concerned about the external crime, and then we have to be concerned about the suicide.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
we need to empower our children, and I really like your group, and I'm going to tell us more about it. So we need to empower our children. First of all, I'm hoping that they're able to teach those young people that everything that glitters is not gold. It's basically, is what I had asked you guys earlier about why do we think children are attracted to games. So my experience in the school, those kids are attracted to games because I think he had hit on it, because it seems glorious. And they have no clue that there's a price to pay for everything you do.
And it's short-lived.
And right, and then that perceived glory is short-lived. But not only that, to be in a game is not as simple as kids think it is. You don't just wake up and say, well, then I like saying my pants, I'm gonna join the game. There's a high price to pay to be in that game. As far as, my concern is nobody talks about that except for those of us who's never been in the game. So the kids are not listening to us.
Well, that gets back to, you've been going back and forth with somebody else's baby.
Mm-hmm.
What we've talked about is actually in the stage play.
Mhm.
We have fathers, we have the mother, we have the gang member.
So
we
you're
have-
telling us, in addition to just coming up with this title in the book, that you've actually put together a play
This play
so people
actually,
can come out.
and this is our cast here.
Okay.
Just to let you know that who these people are, they're our cast. And if,
So that means each one of you guys here do have something to say about what's happening with our youth today.
not only that, but how many of you have someone that you know that has been shot, killed in Chicago that's in the play? Look at that. That average 99%, 98% right here in this room.
But you know what Rock Flock has said down at Push. Like I said, I'm telling you that.
Even when it's right or wrong.
That's right. Right, you guys know who it is. But you know, but two things. First of all, Jesse pointed out to the audience, because they were doing the thing where the kids wasn't in the audience, they were tweeting it or something. It was coming up on the screen. And then plus the kids in the audience was tweeting it too. But anyway, but what he had said is that, I tell you, I fell in love with that kid. I don't even know his song. I forgot to look it up here. But anyway, but what he had said that parents, he feels his parents are. And then Jesse Jackson educated the kids on this boy come from an educated parent. So he's not as flock as he was rocking. But the point is, he said parents need to educate their children. And whenever people say parents, I just personally feel that as a group, because we are all bound together, because God gave us this black skin, whether we like it or not. And for those who are not proud to get the black skin, I can understand you want to sidebar out. But there's enough of us who's okay with being black that we need to talk about the blackness and the beauty of being black. But his thing was that parents need to educate their young people that rap music and all of whatever we feel is the negative force is entertainment. But go on.
We need to understand one thing that's going on in the black community. There's a number of issues that we are dealing with, but a disconnect between the parents and and the children is one. There's a lot of, like we spoke on, fatherless households, mothers raising boys, which to me is similar to a cat raising a dog. It could be done, but eventually
But you know what the thing
dog's
is?
gonna meow.
It's,
I mean,
He makes a good point, because if you look over time, and I'm old enough to notice how boys have changed their dress, the way they look. You know, back in my day, wearing an earring was just one earring, wasn't done. And all of a sudden, fathers are going,
yeah, we are
earrings.
emasculated.
We're actually taking on our mothers. Look, 2 earrings, well, let me finish. 2 earrings. Then they're putting the beads in their hair now. That was unheard of. When I see a kid with beads in their hair, I'm like, what is
But
going
they're not
on?
taking on that feminine look, because again, now you married a historian. You gotta realize that different cultures, different things are acceptable. I tell you, you guys need to come to that.
But let me say this. Let me say this.
He's
Let me
saying
say
that
this.
same thing
Let me say this.
about culturally what's acceptable.
Children do what they see. Okay, and if
But
they're
they're
with
not talking about their
the no,
mother.
but we are creatures of habit, and what we are around, that's what we tend to do. So if a boy, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm saying if a young man is around a young lady all the time, and all he sees is a young lady, he's gonna pick up the way she speaks, the way she holds her hand, the way she,
Well, then
you
they
know,
should be mad
it's
for
little.
respectful. If they comment on the women.
But what we're saying, what I'm saying is, to me, it doesn't matter because I know, but I'm one that I believe in there needs to be a balance.
There needs to be a
And
balance.
what's being missing in our homes is, you know, mothers are nurturers. They pick up, you fall, they're gonna pick you up and kiss your boo. But men are not. We're gonna teach you to get up and walk yourself. Because as many times you're gonna fall, get up again.
So we have 2 lessons to teach a society then, because there's a reality that there's not a father in every household. So
That is
my
the
thing
reality.
is, in the classroom or in the school, the fact that you don't have a father in your household, as tragic as society may tell you that is, how do we get you to recognize that you still can and should and need to be your best you?
Now, what needs to happen is, and I grew up in a single parent household, and I'm not ashamed to say it, my father actually was a heroin addict all of my life.
Okay.
And, but when I became 16 years old, something started happening within me and my mother, because I was maturing. I'm becoming a man now at that point. So I need to be around other men to see, it doesn't matter if it's just sitting in a room with a man to see how he breathes. You know, I need to know what a man does. So now I'm becoming a man, and me and my mother aren't seeing eye to eye anymore. So now it's issues starting to evolve, you know. And then also the way that my mother handles me is gonna be a way that I also handle her in the future, how I view her. If she's promiscuous with a lot of men, I'm either gonna lose respect for her or become very promiscuous with women.
But my thing is, my point is, but the reality is, even if your dad had been in the household, he was not leading a lifestyle that would have made you a better man.
I know that, but
And
even-
wait, let me see, but I'm not denouncing your dad. I'm talking about the reality. I'm
understand.
a realist, but he wasn't there. So so based on what you went through, you have both realities.
I have both
You
realities.
needed that man in that household. Had you had the fortune of having the man that you had in the household, what are the odds that you would have ended up on drugs because of the man in the household?
Can I jump in real quick?
Let me just finish real quick.
So let him finish and we'll come back.
What I did have that I think that a lot of kids don't have is I had someone that I was afraid to disappoint. I had a grandmother who I was afraid I was not gonna disappoint my grandmother. I was not gonna go to jail. I was not gonna get
But then
caught.
where did that value system, you recall
It
how you did
was
this?
instilled in me from
Those women?
Yeah, from my grandmother. From my grandmother. But going back, I had men in my life. I was an athlete, I played sports, I had
But it's not
coaches.
the point I made with him. There's other men in the, see, my thing is what I'm just trying to say, what is the message we need you guys said, I really want to hear from a young man. What is the message we need to tell to our children? Because we need to tell the grown men, you need to be there for these young boys. That's the message to the grown men.
But you also have to tell moms that they have to do everything possible to protect their children, but they have to know how to protect their children, and a lot of moms don't know. One problem I see now is a lot of moms will, unfortunately, sometimes the dad is gone because they pushed him out, and sometimes not. But sometimes when they push him out, they try and bring in a father figure who is not biological. And one of the problems here, some of these non-biological father figures are predators and will molest their little boys. And then you have another problem, a bigger problem. And with him, you can't just look at his life on the surface and say, well, his dad is a heroin addict. What happened? How did it?
But I don't even think that's a total negative because his father is who he was.
Yeah, but
How did we
you don't
get
even
him to be
know.
okay?
I mean, you don't know what happened. Why did he become one? What? I mean, was it because he was kicked out of his family, pushed out of the life of his son, or was he just? Did he have an addictive personality and develop the addiction and abandon? I mean, you don't know, so you really have to look at this deeply to find out what really happened.
But
Because you
let
don't
me
know.
just to your point, because his dad was a heroin addict does not necessarily mean his dad abandoned him, is what I'm trying to get to
Right,
my
no,
he did not.
understanding.
He did not.
Yeah,
His father could have been a great guy,
Right.
but
With that addiction.
but child loss can create depression in adult men, and a lot of these adult men self-medicate when they're depressed. Also, some of these adult men commit suicide when they're depressed. Child loss does cause a depression and a suicide in men. So this is something that's really very complex, and you really got to dig into it to see what is really the cause of this issue. Because
Let me jump to the young kid. How do we get our kids? I want y'all to come in, but how do we get they too? Because actually, it's a good balance here. How do we get our kids past the reality? Because I can see, because there has to be all these men groups where you need to educate men, and what she's doing, the importance of being there. I really love what she's doing because you've already took your role, be it good or bad. Now you're passing your knowledge back so that that child either won't do it or at least have an inside understanding.
But you know, the women are doing the same thing. They're pushing dads out. You have some good fathers that want to be in the home and want to be involved with their children.
That's how you get rich.
And you got women that say, my baby. You ain't gonna never see my baby. And it's not just your baby, and you don't realize when you push that dad away, that child is gonna grow up half. That child is gonna be missing half of him or herself, because men are very important in girls' lives, because I didn't grow up with a father. And we need our father to tell us we're pretty and to boost us up and to tell us about bad boys. And when you don't get that, then you go out in the street and you look for that from any kind of boy. And then there's this other thing with prostitution. You got these pimps out here just waiting for this little girl that don't have a father, that's not receiving love. And they start now, they're like 9 years old now, prostituting these kids and prostitute trafficking and everything. So these women need to stop pushing these dads out that want to be there, because that child needs that dad just as much as that child needs that mom, if not more.
But you know what, but to your point of fighting for father's rights, we grew up, like I said, my mom was a single parent, it was 4 of us, but we had a stepfather. And so what happens, and see, I totally agree with you guys about the male image. I think I get hung up with constantly inundating our kids that they're missing something because they don't have their biological father, as important as I think he is. Because in our household, because we didn't have my dad, for no bigger reason than the fact that my mom's generation just felt the children belonged to the mother. And we lived in California, and my mother decided that she did not like it not snowing or raining or whatever her reason was, so she just came to Chicago. No big deal, no negative, nothing, you know. Then we asked our father, like, you know, why did you leave our family? He said, I didn't leave your family. Your mother just decided when you guys went on vacation, she wasn't coming back. But no big deal, that was it. But, and then you asked her why she didn't go back, and she said because public transportation wasn't as good in California as it was in Chicago. So she didn't mean us any harm, but she felt those children belonged to her.
Exactly.
So when she went, we went. And he so if he didn't want to give him his job and come, you know, but you didn't have the same lectures that you have today as to the importance of that. So I'm saying that he was there was nothing wrong with him. But the reason why I support you need that male in that household, because with her, with our stepfather, her boyfriend, whoever he was, he did help us as we grew. He helped my brother not be so dependent on my mom, because because mothers, like you say, are nurturers. So anytime there's a problem, my mother solved the problem. So he stepped in as a man and telling him, not condemning him, but the real world, they're not going to solve your problems like that. You have to realize there's going to be problems. In order for you to learn how to solve them, you have to have the problem.
Teaching self-accountability.
Yes, and he kept always bicking with my mom, is this okay for him to be wrong? Because my mom is always, don't walk on that side of the street because you know there's a pit bull. His is like, okay, you told him that, he knows the danger. If he walks on that side of the street and the pit bull come after him, he has to have those instincts and that lesson and blah, blah, blah on how to deal with pit bull, because there's pit bulls out there. Yeah. So I feel his presence was valuable. And then for me, you think I'm opinionated as an adult, imagine me at 15.
You do everything.
Yeah. And so, but he taught me that you're taking on your mother's personality, which is not a negative, but to coexist in a relationship, there's some things you have to step back and understand that without him there, I didn't change, but without him there telling me, I wouldn't have known that. I would have thought that's the way it is. I would have thought men are supposed to listen to women. You're supposed to go to work, and then I'm supposed to cook your food, and you're supposed to listen to me. But he kept telling me that, but I'm saying, so the male presence is so needed.
Let me say this, just to kind of piggyback on what you said earlier about,
Before anybody say anything else, I want to hear from the young man, what do we do as adults to help you guys to understand the reality that you're with? You got the Jeffries beat the dads up and try to encourage the mothers to let the dad be part of your life. You have us with the reality that the dad's not always there. You have him who didn't have a dad, but he turned out okay. How do we get you to where he's at?
Get me to where he's at.
Yeah, whether there's a father or not a father in the household. Your friends, they don't have to be you literally. The reality, okay, if something's going wrong in your young world, how do we as adults, without stepping in and calling ourselves, telling you how to fix it, just give you the strength, to understand that how to be strong within the you that we're not looking at?
To be honest, I really don't know.
If you do that, you'll be strong.
I never really had that type of problem. I call myself growing up stable.
What about your friends?
Well, me personally, I grew up, me and my brother, we grew up with my mom.
Okay, single family household.
But me and my brother, our dad stayed involved in our life. Like,
So
even,
is that by design? Did your mom reach out for it? Or
no, they did that.
it just automatically happened? Okay.
Even though, like, my dad used to do drugs or whatever, he never let me see that side. Every time I was around, he tried his best to do the best that he could be. Even though he fell short at times, he still made effort, and that's why I really never held resentment towards my father. And now that he's clean, he has years clean, and he's really showing improvement and becoming an even more greater father towards me. And then even with my older brother, him and his dad, they didn't have the best relationship. When I was a young baby, my father, he tried to keep a good relationship with my older brother. So my dad, he really made efforts. So basically just having a loving father and a loving mother in the house.
So, but in the household or in the picture? I mean, what?
In the picture.
In the picture, okay.
That's-
So you,
I would say that's more important than anything, because money can't buy love, paternal and maternal. And that because it provides a lot of stability. My dad was in prison for years, but I knew he always loved and cared about me. He was just a weak man. He was not educated and he was weak, you know.
So the thing is, the image of the father, be it good or bad, you just feel that the father needs to, you know, the child needs to be able to know who their dad is.
Yeah, that's real important. I mean, I know this woman, she's right now she's closer to 40, but I remember when she was in her late 30s, you know, she used to go to this one movie theater, community center in this area on the south side, hoping one day to see her dad. She didn't know who her dad was, but she knew he was somewhere in the community. But her mother and her mother's family made sure she had no contact with him and never knew who he was, but he was in that community. So she would wander around as an adult in areas she thought he could have frequented, trying to see if she could see a man that looked like her. And she had a hole in her soul, and this whole thing could have been solved, but apparently her mother and her mother's side of the family, especially the mother's brother, hated this guy. And but it was about them, not about her. And this woman has a lot of pain because of that.
And I'd like to piggyback on what you just stated, because I'm the opposite. I don't know what my mother was like. I was taken away by my father and my grandmother. Now, I've lived in all the types of homes that we've talked about today. My father was very abusive. He was abusive towards the kids, and he beat the women in his life. And I've had to witness them. Now, I've lived in 9 different foster homes over 6 years, over my second re-entry into foster care. And I lived in, as a matter of fact, I just want to quickly mention, I lived in a foster home where I was one of the foster kids there, and another one was a gentleman that was gang affiliated, and he grew up on the streets. And I'd see him maybe every 5 or 10 years after we were in the foster home. But in that foster home, the foster mother's natural child was killed execution style. He was 22 years old, and he had gotten involved in a drug gang. Another one of her natural kids died of a drug overdose. Just this past Thursday, I went to the funeral of the kid that I mentioned that was gang affiliated. He had passed away. He had gotten into he was gang affiliated, got into a car accident, drunk driving, and ended up paralyzed from the neck down. He died at that funeral home we went to. I showed up, and they said, there's no funeral, there's no wake. The body is too badly decomposed. There's no obituary, and all we're gonna do is send you back the ashes of the person in a cardboard box. Now, the reason I say that is because we both lived in the same foster home. He went one path, I went another path. I've lived in foster homes with just the foster mother. I've lived in foster homes with both the foster mother and the foster father. I've lived in one where the foster father was an alcoholic, so he was virtually not there. My own father was abusive. I've experienced all those different types of abuse. What kept me from taking that other path was, one, even though my father was abusive, he taught me a strong work ethic, and he taught me that I could do anything. When I ended up in my first foster home, I ended up in the strongest structure that I was ever in, and that was the home of a minister and his wife. And that was the one that was in between. That was the middle, because that foster mother would go to the switch and spank us, but she wasn't overly abusive like my father was. What ultimately saved me were people who saw something. They saw promise, and they didn't judge me. They also listened to me, and then gave me back their positive feedback, and they encouraged me. That included my school social work, my social work, people in the neighborhood, my pastor. Because one of the things that, as a pastor in this place, one of the things that I just realized today was that the pastor does play an important role in the community, because the pastor sets the theme of the week. Because you go to church, that pastor delivers that message, and for that week, your mother, your parents, they're reinforcing that message over and over again. Remember, pastor said this, or you got to do it like this, and then you go back for that next week to get recharged again. Unfortunately, that's not what happens in the community because there's so many churches within the community, and a lot of the pastors aren't necessarily into it for that. But what I'm saying is, it takes people to believe in the person, because once I felt that somebody believed in me, I didn't have the need that my foster brother had to go hang out with the gang, because that gang was giving him what he was missing, which luckily for me, I was getting from other adults.
So we're gonna do a couple things here. We're gonna let her speak. Then we're gonna go back because you brought up the play and it's been brought up a couple times. So we're gonna go back to Diane and her husband because actually I wanna hear the foundation of their play, what's going on with it, when it's gonna come about. Then we're gonna conclude with, we're gonna still go with each person. But Mary's gonna start with you. You're gonna give us your name, tell us if you're in the play and what your role is in the play, and your bottom line opinion or conclusion as to what you're going to do with part of our group defining to make sure that we're reaching out to any young person that we encounter. Because I like his story for a simple reason, because I'm always back to the reality. Because we need a two-parent household, but that's an adult conversation. We need the father to be part of your life, whether you're in the household or not. Those are adult conversations. But inside of the young person, like in his particular case, he did not have his dad in the household, but he had his dad in the picture. So we need to hear from more young people as to how that made a difference in their life. But my thing is, how do we help or educate or motivate the individual who has none of that, who ends up with your situation where nothing's going right? You still could be okay. Matter of fact, you still have to be okay. It's not even an option. So each individual child, I go back to this one guy. This man said, yes, but I love to sit in that audience at Bush. He said, I never heard of it. He said that there's a disconnect between what we're as adults saying, and he said adults are designed. That's why we're losing our youth, because we're designed. He said there's a disconnect, and I don't like to be designed, so that's why I listen. But he said there's a disconnect between us saying, statistically, by the time a child gets in 3rd and 4th grade, if they cannot read and write according to state standards and do their math, that they're on their way to prison. He said there's a disconnect between that logic and that statistic and us saying that the problem that's so prevalent in our society is from these kids who never learned how to read and write. So you got Obama, you got Ron Emanuel, you got all these degrees, you got McCarthy, you got all these degrees, but you're telling us that the child who did not learn how to read beyond the 4th grade level have more sense on how to get the guns on the street than any of us know how to get them off the street. That's right. Now wasn't that, I'm telling you, that boy just made all the sense in the world. And he was sitting there all quiet like, I don't know what you got to talk about. But then when he opened his mouth, to me, he made the most sense. Because how can you be so dumb that you can't make it through our school system, but you're so smart that McCarthy can't figure out how to get the guns out your hand, that you didn't make it, that you had no money. So how did you buy them? Where did they come from? The same way with the drugs that that you talked about. You're in jail for selling drugs on the street that you don't even know how to grow, because you can't even read the instructions on how to plant the seed. So he said, anyway, I don't know the answer, but I just think that's a good point. Then another thing he said too is that since we said rap music is the problem, why are all these educated people with all their money making positive rap music and influencing kids? So that's very good.
Yes, it doesn't say.
Yeah, so I mean he knows it, but his point was educate the kids that their value is within. And the parents, he felt the parents need to let those kids know that the music is entertaining. And I think that's where your program is probably going to do a lot of justice, because it's got some people from inside that system who made the wrong decision because they thought one thing. And, but anyway, so I'm through with that. What else are we going to do? Oh, we're going to go here. We're going to go here.
I just wanted to digress a little, go back to what Mr. Levin and, piggyback off what he said, and Dr. Martin. Dr. Martin's story is similar to mine, but I'm past 50. I grew up in rural Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we
Okay,
were,
look down when you was walking.
we were a nuclear family. But my father died when I was 6 years old. My mother raised 9 of us, 5 boys and 4 girls, by herself. There were men figures in our family, my uncle, and the total community, the pastor, everybody in that community. Most of the families there were nuclear families. And everybody looked after everybody's child. If that child done something, well, see, you said you didn't believe in the spanking.
These kids,
I know.
it's all about the message though.
Yeah, but if I did something wrong, the teacher would get me and tell my parents would get me. If they got to my uncle first, he would get me. Somebody was gonna spank my behind, and we knew.
Because there was trust there.
Absolutely.
But I promise you, I'm in the school
Absolutely.
system, if some of those teachers hit those kids, I would even lose my life.
My mother was never abusive.
Not gonna go there.
Never
You
abusive.
can't even talk to the kids today. The parents will come and curse you out.
But she made us realize that you could be, like his mother said, you could be anything that you want to be. And I never thought a little country girl like me would come from Mississippi, become the Bursar of a university, and help tons of people. Help tons of people.
But what do we say our bottom line is? If individual is taught that they can be what they need to be.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, you have the burden, the obligation. Flocka said that we're trying to put the burden on the kids because our ancestors were slaves. That's not their burden. Your burden, your responsibility, your challenge is you have to be you.
That's
A
it.
good you.
That's it.
Not a mediocre you. That's why I try to get those kids, like I said, we do special ed, and I can't do this, I can't do this, I won't pass that test. We're not talking about that test. I'm talking right now today. Can I get you to understand, and my thing is not necessarily for you, remember that 2 times 2 is 4, can I get you to understand that 2 times 2 is an answer, and if I can't get you to recall this 4, how can I teach you to know that it's an answer and go for the answer?
And then another thing is, like Mr. Levin said, society has created a lot of the problems in the homes today. Because if you think about all these different theories out there, I'm getting too deep in it, but Robert Lipsky wrote this book, Street Level Bureaucrats. And in that book, he talked about the bureaucracy that these people put in their mind that works in these different offices. If, say for instance, if it's a common law family and that woman is receiving public aid, they're gonna push that man out the house. But that's a father, he's the father. But they have to push, and I know that if you're not, in order to get that help, they gotta push that man out of that child's life, basically.
But who had mentioned that, and I can understand that, but who had mentioned the thing about that boy? Because the father, see, because we went through society that if the father can't contribute financially, then they're not gonna serve a purpose.
Right.
But someone had mentioned, which is something that we keep forgetting, is that boy is there, and they're gonna go show up at that fence to see if they can find somebody that just looks like themselves.
That's right.
And I had the conversation with a kid one time who was really just going through that teenage rebellious thing. I hate this, I hate everybody, including this was like talking to me. You know, so when I'm like, you come from a 2-parent household, I'm going with what society says you should be grateful. You have a 2-parent household. But you know that kid will often say to me, well, why doesn't my dad love me enough to be here? And she can understand him not being with my mother. She said that. I can understand him not being with my mother. I wouldn't want to be with her either. But why does he love me?
Right, exactly.
Exactly. So the thing is, we can't do the things we can't control, but how do we get that child? And see, for me, I just told her that because I have an aggressive personality. I told her to reach out to her dad anyway. If that's bothering you to that point, you don't have anything to lose, but you're truly losing academically because that's bothering me. I'm not going to dismiss it because you said it too many times. You need to find your father because you know who he is. And so then she ended up doing that, which it turned out to be a whole deal, so you gotta be careful with advice. She ended up going over to his mother's house. you know, and just told his mother, I need to know who my dad is, I need to talk with him, I need to tell him, I need him to tell me he don't want to be part of my life. And so, you know, of course, that caught everybody off guard, you know, the mother got pleased because she knew who she was and all that kind of stuff. And then it broke the grandmother's heart that she did break down, pick up that phone, call that girl's father. The girl's father came over there and told her, sympathy or dead, my life wasn't right, it's not all your mother's fault. Because my life wasn't right, because I couldn't contribute financially, I felt you'd be better off, so I went on about my business. He said, so it was never, you know, you had the conversation. It was never to hurt you. It was an adult decision I made. You're sitting before me at 15 saying it was a selfish decision. And they developed a relationship. Not the best relationship, but the mother still didn't want him in the life because of his lifestyle in the street. But we saw the difference in school because she became psychologically okay. Because it was no longer about he doesn't love me enough. If she just came to acceptance, it wasn't about me. But they had to hear that. They needed that conversation. So we're gonna go back to, so many things keep coming back to this title, somebody else's baby. So I love the fact that, you know, he said that he was telling people on the other side of the track that, you know, we need this picture. They didn't care because it wasn't affecting them. Now it's affecting all of us as society. So he could conclude at the end and let us know if he see a paradigm shift between the attitudes of when he started preaching it and the reality of what we're dealing with today. But then you guys, I want you to, and I know whenever anybody write a play or doing a movie, you don't want to start talking about the play of the movie because then why would people come see the play of the movie? But Diane, you know me. I want you to talk about your play. How we got there, you don't have to tell, you know, the parts that won't hook them in, but you know, how we got there, then from there, Mary, then I just want you to start with him, and then he's gonna tell his name, if he's in the movie, you know, what attracted him. It's a movie type. It's on its way. It's on its way. If he's in the play and their roles in the play and anything else that they're doing to try to close this gap between our kids disconnecting, all they shooting. And I just said a little thing, so you know, I took that real personal though they got shot in the office. Man, her business. But I
There was somebody else at the funeral on Sunday.
other kids. Yeah, those kids. So how do we do it individually, one child at a time? We're gonna start your plan.
Well, wow. Okay. Somebody else's baby, again, was sort of birthed from, you know, going back to what my husband said, you know, we did lose a nephew, but it wasn't just that. In our community, we saw a lot of gun violence. You know, oftentimes, the young boys were being murdered in a park where we live, like right down the street from where we live. And I never forget this one boy who got shot, and you know, my husband and I wanted to instill in our boys that they did not want to become part, you know, of the game because this is a result of it. And we actually took them down there to see the body of this baby laying on the ground because we wanted them to see that this is the result, you know, of the choice. If you make this choice, this is what's going to happen. Also, working in the media, I was exposed to it as well. You know, oftentimes when I worked for the news, we were called out on those scenes where we had to, you know, try to keep a straight face doing a story about this young man who was just murdered. And it's hard as a mother when you see a baby, you know, laying on the ground, whose life has been taken before it had an opportunity to begin. And so with all of that being said, you know, going back to all of the different things we've done with our foundation, you know, helping people and working in the communities, you know, we started to notice this trend of so many of our children being gunned down in the streets. And, you know, he started the killing fields and he was doing that, and at this exact same time, you know, I had a whole lot of other stuff going on, but right around this time, Diane Martin was killed. And so I had wrote this book. I had no intention of it ever doing anything. I didn't even market it. I just wrote it. It was something I needed to get out of my system, and it was the story of a young man who lives in the city of Chicago. In this particular story, his name is Tajani Kalan Owens, TKO, who is played by Stephen Davis. And you see the life of this young man whose every intention is to be a good kid. You know, he's raised in that nuclear family where he has a positive mother who's played by Mrs. Bridget Shorter, she's Mrs. Owens, and Mr. J. Thayer, who is his father, Mr. Owens, and you see these two people raising this young man, and they're raising him the right way, and unfortunately, he's thrown into this situation where even the decision that he's made, good or bad, affects not only his life, but all of the lives around him. And so, the story is very dramatic. It is an adaptation of a book, again, a book that I did not quote, but it turned into a screenplay because, you know, I was approached many times with my other works, you know, people have approached us about producing our works, but because we're so passionate about our communities, we're so passionate about our children, we're so passionate about people, that we decided what better place to begin, you know, than to bring to life this story about the murders, you know, of our children in the community. And so, you know, with that being said, you know, we do have our cast here, and if we can all, you know, have an opportunity to introduce ourselves and who we play in there, in the play, that would be fantastic. Starting with our Mr. Owens.
How you doing? I'm Jay Thurman. I play Mr. Owens. I am.
What attracted you to the play? Are you want to express
Oh,
the actor?
the message in this story is one that resonates with me, with my heart. Once I spoke with Ms. Martin and we talked about some things that I'm doing and what the play is about, it was no way I was gonna not be a part of it. I have a foundation that I'm a part of, Daddy, which is developing a determined and dedicated youth group of men I went to college with, that we go out and get boys and teach them, become mentors to them, give them alternatives to other inner city things to do. Also, I just recently started a production company, Exceptional Works, LLC, geared to do the same thing. You know, this is something that's near and dear to my heart. I hate what's going on in the city, and I think this is my way of giving back.
You part of the roofification? Cool. Okay.
My name is Jessica Dando, and
Yeah, speak up.
I'm Jessica Dando. This is our first time, you know, doing anything like this. But my mama asked me that I want to do it, and I'm like, yeah. And then when I got here, I found out what it was about, and even though I'm young, I've been touched by a lot of things. My best friend was stabbed, my other friend was killed, so even I'm from the suburbs, but like all of this stuff, it still affects me. So it makes me want to show people like what's really going on.
And what is your role?
Oh, I'm Jehovah's Witness.
Okay, young lady.
My name is Dominique Goins. My character I play, her name is Niecy. She's a 17-year-old girl.
Dominique.
My name is Dominique Goins. I actually play a character named Niecy. She's a 17-year-old young lady. She's smart mouth, sassy. She definitely has her own issues.
And then what about the violence in the street? Do you have an opinion, a passion?
Well, I mean, I definitely have an opinion, but I mean, I just feel like it just.
They say you're young, so your perspective is different from us who already had our turn. Just tell us, we messed it up and now you guys.
Well, no, I mean, I definitely have an opinion, but I just feel like, you know, I mean, I just definitely could piggyback and agree with a lot of things that you guys have said, you know. I don't feel like I can say anything that no one hasn't already said.
Okay.
So that type of thing.
Okay.
My name is Jasmine Lee. I play First Lady in the play. I am also a set designer as well. I heard about the play, and I went to sit in on the audition, not the audition, but to see how everything was going. And
Stand up so she can speak. To be in a play, you gotta project.
I'm an aspiring actress as well. So I was going through the scenes, and it really inspired me to want to be a part of it because of so many things that go on in the streets as well. A lot of things that reflect in the household. I grew up in a two-parent household, but just from my personal experience, my father was not there for me emotionally. And so as a child, or as a younger generation to anyone that's over 50, I believe that you have a choice. You are not what your parents are. You are not, that is not your choice to become what they are. I grew up in a household.
And how did you get there? That's what we're trying to, how do we get the young people? How did you get there to that mental state?
My story is a little bit like Felton's. I had people that were mentors, people that were there supporting me, quote unquote, the village that was around to help be there. And I had a father who thought that throwing money would solve the problem, but he was not there in the critical stages that I needed him to be. So again, as just a young person to those who are over 50, you have a choice. You are not to become what your parents are. You're either going to do one of two things. You're going to blend in with society, or you have a choice to stand out. I chose to stand out.
Good for you.
Hello, my name is Isala. I just started in with the cast. I started yesterday, actually.
Stand up, but you can't hear you. That means you reject you. Stand up.
It put a lot of interest in me to play the part, the role I'm playing. I'm a prostitute. I grew up in the city, south side of the city. Having to leave the city and come back in. I actually had my single mother, who was raising 9 children and a grandchild at the time, would drive from the city out to the south suburbs so that she could maintain us in a better education and all. And actually, within my siblings and myself, both parents passed. We supported each other, grew together, and we all became successful in all we did. We've seen many things in our life.
Wait, so your mom was originally raising 9 children, and then she passed away?
She passed away when I was 13.
Oh, stop.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
And my older sister, which was 23 at the time, became my mother, legally. Unfortunately, we were the only Hispanic family in a black community at one time, and projects, a mess. I ran away, eventually. Grew up in a great home, and like you want. I'm here now, and I gotta say, everything's. So what do you need to be here to do what I'm doing? I'm raising 4 children of my own. Their dads are there somewhere. I mean, they do see their father. I definitely push that. Finances, whatever. I'll pull the struggle. I got the kids. But yes, my kids are my kids. I don't care who's their dad. When I came into play, I actually told them a joke. I'm like, I have 4 kids, 10 baby daddies. But that's not true. That's not true. That's just because my role is being a prostitution. So.
For you, though, since you had that struggle and then that challenge, because that's like a double challenge. Because a lot of
you know what I say? It's an experience. And I don't.
But where'd you get the strength?
All this stuff with the dads being there, and I gotta tell you, it takes support and a powerful person. I care less whether it's a mom, a dad. I agree. It's support, and if you got that.
Yes, I agree.
Actually was in his office all the time.
Okay.
I got this.
You got this, right?
I'm Jeff Levy. It's great to be here. I play the judge.
Oh, you in the play too?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a realist, and I expect accountability.
That's right.
But I also expect accountability in my personal and professional life from everybody. That's basically who I am. And
You guys lecture your clients when the parents come in there and they're divorcing and fighting over the kids and nobody's taking the kids' side of consideration. Do you get the lecture mode?
yeah, I sometimes I have to do that. And sometimes I have to get tough with my clients. Sometimes I have to get them in therapy. Sometimes I have to get the other side in therapy. Sometimes there's anger management issues. Over the years, I've handled cases where people have been murdered, have been accused of murder, and it takes me back to when I went to high school in Bowen. I don't know if Bowen is on this. So everybody, that's where I went. And Bowen was sort of a nightmare for me. You know, you go into school, you know, worried about getting beaten up every day or things happening. And I remember one day I was sitting in the cafeteria and it was sort of a mess there. I remember one real good-looking student, and he lived with his mother and she was homeless. And he used to sell Playboys for 25 cents a magazine and he'd steal them. And he was in my drafting class. And he was real good looking, the women liked him, and that's why he got shot to death by some gangbangers. It was right in the cafeteria when I was with him, talking to him, and I was eating a hamburger, and some gangbangers just came in and shot and killed him.
In the school?
Yeah, I was in the cafe, no police, nobody. Well, after the shooting, the police finally got there, and after that I figured, you know, when I grew up, I'm going to have to move out of Chicago. And I never moved out of Chicago. So part of what I do now is sort of related to how I grew up and what I experienced and things I'd like to change.
So you feel those kids had fathers, they're going to miss you keeping the lunchroom?
Yeah, well, I was like that one guy, I know he didn't have a father, he didn't know who his father was. He lived with his mom who had no job, and it was he had a real tough situation, you know. So like after this, I had to go back to my office. I had the father coming in because his son was just killed. Actually, he's waiting there for me right now. So after this,
now, so we're going to conclude so we can get you out of here. But you know what, Diane, he just gave you guys something else. We have to get our next group session together and talk about mental illness.
I was going to bring that up earlier.
Okay.
that's a big problem.
See,
Big problem.
that's when you saw, we talk about suicide, we talk about you shooting you, but then where does it derive from?
Yeah.
Not because the father's not in the household, maybe because of mental illness, social malady.
Well, you have to look at everything. If some forms of mental illness are treated. Unfortunately, not all of them are, but some of them are. The ones that are treatable, you want to treat, but due to cuts and
But you need to run the
financial
governor so
cuts.
we can get mental illness institutions back up north.
I agree with you.
Mr. Martin?
I'm William Martin, I'm the producer and manager. I'm not gonna, I may play a part or not in the play, but basically I'm the producer and manager. I think it's more important to move on to these great actors.
Modest of you.
I'm Diane Martin, I'm the playwright, executive director and producer, and I play orderly, and I play a pimp. And I wrote somebody else's baby because, you know, going back to what you said, you know, we want to, you know, prevent it from becoming our babies. And so that's ultimately the whole system.
I like that title.
Thank you.
I am Stephen Davis. I play TKO. As Ms. Martin said, I am a person who tries his best to avoid any and every situation that's bad in my point of view. And I get thrown in the situation, and it not only affects me, but everyone surrounding me.
Yes.
And that's basically what TKO is.
Okay, appreciate you. You haven't said a word since we've been.
No. A couple of them.
My name is Larita Peterson and I play Tony. And basically my character, I'm sweet and I'm shy, I'm smart, I'm a nerd. And I really didn't know what this play was going to be about when I first started. And then when I found out about it, it actually was something close to my heart and my family heart because my brother was killed when he was 16. And it just means a lot for people to know what's going on. And it's
not just Chicago, I grew up in Harvey, and it's just as bad out here in the suburbs as well as in Chicago. And it's just a lot of people kind of put more focus on Chicago rather than what's going on in Harvey, Chicago Heights, and all these other places. But
Well, see, that's what we're doing, it's about the young lives. So, yeah, we don't only want to say Chicago, like you said, a dead child is a dead child.
Right.
Not forever. So, yeah, so hopefully, we're one of the ground floor groups that's trying to bring the message out. We can save lives, not Chicago.
Hi, I'm Whitney Pipes, and I play the police and the detective in this play. And when I auditioned, I didn't know what the play was about, but it has a powerful message. I think the police in our community are very important. They are there, but I think there needs to be more. I think people need to speak up when they do see something. I think that's a big message in this crime with violence, sexual violence against women, gun violence and everything. We need to speak up and talk about it. It's a lot of silence in our community, and I think that's a really important part of the play that we're in.
Let me say about it. Jeffrey, do you think that this code of silence they always always talk about code of silence? They say we could do a whole other show on that, but I don't even agree with that. But I think I'm contrary. Whatever the norm is, I disagree with it. But this code of silence, you know how they always say, especially Father Plager always says, well, break the code of silence. You know something, say something, and giving the indication that because the young lady got shot at the real estate office, if Martin knew who did it, then he wouldn't tell because there's this black thing going. We don't unify on nothing else, but we unify on this code of silence. And then even though he won't tell because of this black code, do you feel that there's any legitimacy to that?
Well, the code of silence is pretty complicated. If you could save lives by breaking it, break it. But to me, my opinion on that is you have to look at it on a case-by-case basis, which a lot of people may not agree with, but you got to look at it individually to see what's at risk and what's going on.
But see, I think the code of silence theory that they have, I'm telling you, because we don't unify on anything else, but we got this one code going on in the black community that if I know who shot your child, I'm not going to say because I'm going to violate the blackness in me.
I disagree
But
with
it's
you.
not even, people go to prison for life because of their code of silence, still spending life in prison, knowing who did it and knowing they didn't do it, but won't tell who did it.
But is it a code of silence or a trust factor? Because to me, if I knew somebody shot somebody, I'm not too quick to go up and start talking to them.
Fear.
But that's fear. It's fear.
And I'm not afraid of you shooting me, I just don't trust that police officer, and I'm just not getting ready to get involved with
Well,
you.
the police have sometimes have a little code of silence themselves.
Yeah, they do.
I was involved in a case, I'll never forget, where this woman was shot to death, and I was involved in suing the police, and she was an African-American woman in a poor community, and I believe that was the reason why the police did not directly respond to her call, and I believe instead they went to White Castle first. Then when they got there, she was, because I recently spoke to the judge over the case, after the case was over, because I went and talked to him privately before it was over. That would be, I couldn't do that. And he was telling me how outraged he was when the police got there. They didn't even open the door and walk in. You know, they're knocking on the door and it's open. And what did bother me, the judge.
I think the code of silence comes from because of that, more so than, we kind of take criminal. But that's another story, we're gonna go with her.
And oh, by the way, we won that case.
Oh, good. That's good news.
My name is Jeanette. I play Angel's mother. I don't have a name. When I first got into this, I'm an aspiring actress as well. When I first got into it, I'm like, okay, cool, another opportunity for me to get on the spotlight. But then once I got into it and Diane started elaborating more
on what it was about and how she wanted to make a positive stamp on what's going on in our reality, it took a different toll from me. And I personally don't have anybody that's been affected by gun violence, but like Loretta was saying, it is prevalent in the suburbs. And just, I want to say, last year or so, or sometime this year, there's been a lot of violence going on in Harvey and in Riverdale and in Dalton. And it's not getting blown up like it is in Chicago. And what I want to do as far as helping out is continue to make a positive stand for what's right. And just to continue to be a positive role model for women that are my age and younger.
What we need, another commitment.
My name is Emma Johnson, and I play the role of a church mother, Mrs. Phelps, Eddie Mae Phelps. And I got involved because I know Diane and William, and I know their causes, because I used to watch his Facebook posting of the killings, and I call it the killing field. And I remember reading one of the posters out there that said, "Why do you put this out there?" You remember getting, yeah, why do you put this out here every day? But I know their causes, and I'm a civil rights activist in my own right from back in the 60s. And I've always wanted to help any cause, and I know what they stand for, and I know what it's like. I've had family members killed in the city. I've had family members, many of them killed in the city, young men. And it impacted me to be a part of that cause, if we can help somebody. And by me being a church mother, playing the role of a church mother, I constantly talk to young people all the time at church to steer them in the right direction. Even when I was working at school, I did the same thing, tried to steer them in the right direction. I tried to help those young men and women, give them information about expungements and all that stuff, where they could go volunteer at the expungement fairs, just to be a part of an activism to promote our young people and keep them out of trouble.
Okay, I appreciate that. I thank you on their behalf. For, because it takes, I like when she did speak earlier. I can always tell. But I like what she said earlier about reminding us. I'm telling you, I'm about the history part. If we can keep educating and reminding our children from whence we've come, they can see how far we can go.
Yeah.
So I like the community thing. Don't talk about the switch stuff. But I like the fact that the community, that when I see I take the train, I'm on the red line, and then sometimes I gotta remember to get back in my body. One of the kids that at the school that I used to work at was cursing this elderly lady out. I get up out my seat like that's my child. I get up going over there, I'm like, girl, what are you? She said, no, it's not me, it's her. You need to tell her. But let me tell you what I can't do. We can't control her. Let's work on self.
That's right.
Just let it go. Let her have her, and you work on you. Because it's not even about what she's saying. Right. It's about not losing you to what she's saying. So it goes back to the community. And so then that's why, the kids, and they were all on Facebook talking about, Miss Flores, I went in the middle of the fight, so I'm going to get her one day. But I forgot not to get involved.
That's right.
Because I didn't know what was worse, the fact that you were cursing this adult out, or the fact that you were just upset. But either way, my message is always, we can't control them. Let's work on self. And so, she still was mumbling on her breath, but all the cursing back and forth stopped, but she just was going there. And I'm like, this is my thing at school. I'm back. I'll be one. Okay, go on.
All right. My name is Jason Tolliver.
Somebody else who haven't spoke since we've been here. Yes.
I play the role of Snooky. Snooky is a gang member. Rufus is the kind of guy that doesn't care about anything but making money, do anything to get it. Read the script, fell in love with it. Diane's an incredible author. I think the play is, to make you laugh, make you cry. It's real deep, shocking, and had you at the edge of the seat. Definitely got to come out July 26th. I've had a father in my life. I feel like if you got that person that cares about you, believes in you, that's probably the most important thing. One of the best feelings is making somebody that cares about you and believes in you, proud of you.
Yeah.
And one of the worst feelings is disappointing that person. So I figured you got that support system, you should be good. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
My name's Felton Armand, and I play pastor. And I guess what I'd like to say is that growing up, I grew up around 79th Street, 79th and Vincennes, and that was a bad neighborhood. And then I actually took the bus all the way to the Roseland area to go to Fanger High School, which back in the day was the worst school in the city. And that, I remember back then we had the murder of Stephen Watts. He was a star football player. He got shot coming home from a party. And then you fast forward, over 30 some odd years later, and in 2009, Darian Albert was killed going home from school. And that's so unfortunate because so often you'd like to think that the school that you went to, the neighborhood that that school was in would get better over time. And Roseland is one of those areas where the community has actually gotten worse over time. It's actually worse, in worse condition than when it was when I went to high school there. As far as what got me interested in this play, it was really the conversation with Diane. It was the passion. She had so much passion about the play that I said, I'm gonna investigate this further. And after seeing the script, I thought this is a great project to be involved in. What am I doing as far as reaching out to the young people of the world? Well, first of all, I'm involved. I have been involved, and I support Real Men Cook. They promote fatherhood every Father's Day. They hold an event. I'm involved with Toastmasters International. We have a youth leadership program, which we just recently reached out to Principal Dozier after seeing her on the Chicagoland documentary to offer her that youth leadership program in that high school. And third, one of the big questions was, how does one thrive when you come from such a negative environment? So what I've done is start to distill that, and I've actually written a book called Lewis Runs Away, and it highlights the focus of a child's journey from running away through the system and then ultimately ending up in a loving foster care. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bridget Shorter, and I play Mrs. Owens, TKO's mom, Mr. Owens' wife, in this play. We all come from different walks of life. Whether there was a father, and I totally agree with Isela, Lala. We all come from different walks of life. You asked the question initially, how does the youth get involved in the gangs and things? Whether there is a father, whether there is a mother, I'm a product of not ever knowing who my father was. I am also a single mom. But it does take a village. Yes, it does. Yes, you have your churches, your community, I am also a mentor. I also am starting my own foundation of Beautiful Me, which is empowering young women. I was a teen parent, so what I do currently is mentor youth, the young ladies at this time. But it's a lot of things that when your household is in a wreck. I used to work for an entity of DCFS, so I saw where there was not parents, but those children were graduating, those children were becoming successful. So everybody has a different story. I don't necessarily believe that it's because of the absence. I know that the absence of a father is definitely detrimental, because I, to this day at 38, feel that void of not having or knowing my real father. But at the same time, because I had a community that helped me grow into the woman that I am today, that is what's important. So it's everybody's responsibility. It's when society throws those things out in media, it is not just the parents, but it's everyone. We all take a part in the responsibility of why there are children killing children. We all take a responsibility of that, because we can't hold, because of everybody coming from a different background. So, and of course with the help of God, who is our provider, who takes care of us. So those things are definitely important. And what I love about Ms. Diane and Dr. Martin is their spirit. First of all, they are very passionate people. And I just met them with the audition. Very passionate about what it is, and I support them 100% on this project, because it's not just, I wrote a book, and even though she didn't know that she had purpose for her book, which it came to fruition now, that when you mentioned movie, be ready for it. She didn't know what her purpose was, but God knew that it was a higher calling for this to go forth to the world. So I 100% applaud them. And I thank them for trusting me and us to be a part of this project. Thank you.
I do have.
Thank you.
My name is Wanda Vasquez, and I think God led me to Diane through Facebook. I had a supervisor at the post office named Diane Martin, so I sent a friend request, and I thought that's who she was, and then a couple years later, here we are. And I just would love to be a part of anything Diane is involved with, because she is about doing good things. And, well, I just like to say that I was a troubled youth. I was headed in the wrong direction. In the play, I'm playing Brenda, a prostitute. And going back to my childhood, I grew up in Roseland, and I probably would have been a real prostitute today, judging by the way my childhood was, where I was headed. Either strung out on drugs, dying from AIDS, or a prostitute, or any of the above. So I can relate to what's going on in the communities today, and that's why I'm so passionate about what's going on with our youth, because it's something.
Make sure you tell about your organization.
Oh, okay. Going back to the organization, I'm the co-founder of PAC. James Fields is the founder. And like us on Facebook, PAC Prisoners Against Crime is the name of the organization. And I just wanted to pull out a few of the testimonials, or one of the testimonials. The one I was telling you about, he got 60 years. He was just in a car with some gangbangers, and one of the gangbangers shot somebody. And while they were from the car, and they all blamed it on him. And he got 60 years for something he didn't do, and he was a teenager. And some of these testimonials that I get, the guys talk about how their mother was a prostitute, and she would make them go out and sell drugs. And she wouldn't get, one of the guys, she wouldn't get him out of jail unless he would promise when he go back out on the street, he would sell drugs and get her drugs. And his mother would sleep with his friends, because his friends were drug dealers, sleep with them to get drugs. And some of these kids, they just being thrown into this lifestyle. Some of these kids, they say, my uncle was a gangbanger, my father was a gangbanger, my father was actually proud when I joined the gang. So some of these kids, they really don't want to be in this lifestyle, but it's all they know. And like I say, we just trying to educate kids and let them know that when you go to prison, it's not glamorous at all. And they're going to forget about you, and you're going to get there. Sometimes your own family, your mother, your father, your brothers, your sisters, your friends, you're just going to be all alone. Nobody's going to come and visit you. Some of these guys haven't had visits in 15 years, and they're just there. It's just a lonely life. It's not somewhere you want to be at all.
Well, I thank you guys. You know what? I'm going to applaud Diane Martin. First of all, for being a writer and a motivator and inspirator. The other thing is I'm going to congratulate each of you guys for taking that stand to being in the play for whatever your reasons that you want to be an actor. Then I admire you.
We have one thing we need to clarify. The part of me being a runaway, I was running away from the streets, not from
your family, from your sister, right?
Because me and my siblings are the closest things ever.
Okay.
There's 9 of us, probably like 35 grandchildren, great-grandchildren all together.
That's good. That's a good
clarify. I run away from my family. I ran away from the problems in the street. I was at my mother's.
Okay, so that's beautiful to know, because she came through it. Really like your message, reminded us just all about the history, going back from which we come, and that's how we got to where we're at. And it takes a start to get to where you're going. For those, Mr. Levin, who does not have the father in the household, then the rest if he's in the play and their role in the play and anything else that they're doing to try to close this gap between our kids disconnected and all these shootings. And I just said a little thing, so I just said real personal, although they got shot in the office. minding her business. But I.
That was the same day I was at the funeral on
Oh,
Sunday.
that was it. Yeah, that's it. So how do we do it individually, one child at a time? And we'll start with your plan.
Well, well, okay. Somebody else's baby, again, was sort of birthed from, going back to what my husband said, we did lose a nephew, but it wasn't just that. In our community, we saw a lot of gun violence. Oftentimes, young boys were being murdered in the park where we live, like right down the street from where we live. And I never forget this one boy who got shot, and my husband and I wanted to instill in our boys that they did not want to become part, of the gangs because this is a result of it. And we actually took them down there to see the body of this baby laying on the ground because we wanted them to see that this is the result, of the choices. If you make this choice, this is what's going to happen. Also, working in the media, I was exposed to it as well. Oftentimes when I worked for the news, we were called out on those scenes where we had to, try to keep a straight face doing a story about this young man who was just murdered. And it's hard as a mother when you see a baby, laying on the ground, whose life has been taken before it had an opportunity to begin. And so with all of that being said, going back to all of the different things we've done with our foundation, helping people and working in the communities, we started to notice this trend of so many of our children being gunned down in the streets. And, he started the killing fields and he was doing that. And at this exact same time, I had a whole lot of other stuff going on. But right around this time, Diane Martin was killed. And so I had wrote this book. I had no intention of it ever doing anything. I didn't even market it. I just wrote it. It was something I needed to get out of my system. And it was the story of a young man who lives in the city of Chicago. In this particular story, his name is Tajani Kalan Owens, TKO, who is played by Stephen Davis. And you see the life of this young man whose every intention is to be a good kid. He's raised in that nuclear family where he has a positive mother who's played by Mrs. Bridget Shorter, she's Mrs. Owens, and Mr. J. Thayer, who is his father, Mr. Owens. And you see these two people raising this young man, and they're raising him the right way. And unfortunately, he's thrown into this situation where even the decision that is made, good or bad, affects not only his life, but all of the lives around him. And so the story is very dramatic. It is an adaptation of a book, again, a book that I did not promote. But it turned into a screenplay because, I was approached many times with my other works, people have approached us about producing our works. But because we're so passionate about our communities, we're so passionate about our children, we're so passionate about people, that we decided what better place to begin, than to bring to life the story about the murders, of our children in the community. And so, with that being said, we do have our cast here, and if we can all, have an opportunity to introduce ourselves and who we play in there, in the play, that would be fantastic. Starting with our Mr. Owens.
How you doing? I'm Jay Thurman. I play Mr. Owens. I am.
What attracted you to the play? Are you want to explain
the message in this story is one that resonates with me, with my heart. Once I spoke with Ms. Martin and we talked about some things that I'm doing and what the play is about, it was no way I was gonna not be a part of it. I have a foundation that I'm a part of, Daddy, which is developing a determined and dedicated youth group of men I went to college with, that we go out and get boys and teach them, become mentors to them, give them alternatives to other inner city things to do. Also, I just recently started a production company, Exceptional Works, LLC, geared to do the same thing. This is something that's near and dear to my heart. I hate what's going on in the city, and I think this is my way of giving back.
Be part of the group education? Okay.
My name is Jessica Dowdle, and
Let's speak up.
I'm Jessica Dowdle. This is my first time, doing anything like this. But my mama asked me that I want to do it, and I'm like, yeah. Then when I got here, I found out what it was about, and even though I'm young, I've been touched by a lot of things. My best friend was stabbed, my other friend was killed, so even I'm from the suburbs, but like all of this stuff, it still affects me. So it makes me want to show people like what's really going on. What is your role? Oh, I'm Jehovah's Witness.
Okay, young lady.
My name is Dominique Goins. My character I play, her name is Nisi. She's a 17-year-old girl.
Dominique.
My name is Dominique Goins. I actually play a character named Nisi. She's a 17-year-old young lady. She's smart mouth, sassy. She definitely has her own issues.
And then what about the violence in the street? Do you have an opinion, a passion?
Well, I mean, I definitely have an opinion, but I mean, I just feel like it just.
And say you're young, so your perspective is different from us who already had our turn. Just tell us, we messed it up and now you guys.
No, I mean, I definitely have an opinion, but I just feel like, I mean, I just definitely could piggyback and agree with a lot of things that you guys have said, I don't feel like I can say anything that no one hasn't already said.
Okay.
So that type of thing.
My name is Jackson Lee. I'm the first lady in the play, and also a set designer as well. I heard about the play, and I went to sit in on the audition, not the audition, but to see how everything was going. And
stand up, you'll be at a play, you gotta project.
I'm an aspiring actress as well. So I was going through the scenes, and it really inspired me to want to be a part of it because of so many things that go on in the streets as well. A lot of things that reflect in the household. I grew up in a two-parent household, but just from my personal experience, my father was not there for me emotionally. And so as a child, or as a younger generation to anyone that's over 50, I believe that you have a choice. You are not what your parents are. That is not your choice to become what they are. I grew up in a household.
And how did you get there? That's what we're trying. How did we get the young people? How did you get there to that mental state?
My story is a little bit like Felton's. I had people that were mentors, people that were there supporting me, quote unquote, the village that was around to help be there. Yeah. And I had a father who thought that throwing money would solve the problem, but he was not there in the critical stages that I needed him to be. So again, as just a young person, to those who are over 50, you have a choice. You are not to become what your parents are. You're either going to do one or two things. You're going to blend in with society, or you have a choice to stand out. I chose to stand out.
Good for you.
Hello, my name is Isala. I just started with the cast. I started yesterday, actually.
Stand up if you can't hear you, then you can't reject you. Stand up.
It put a lot of interest in me to play the part of the role I'm playing. I'm a prostitute. I grew up in the city, south side of the city. Having to leave the city and come back in. I actually had my single mother who was raising 9 children and a grandchild at the time. Would drive from the city out to the south suburbs so that she could maintain us in a better education and all that. Actually, within my siblings and myself, both parents passed. We supported each other, grew together, and we all became successful in all we did. And we see many things in our life.
Wait, so your mom was originally raising 9 children, and then she passed away?
She passed away when I was 13.
Oh, stop!
Yes.
Oh, God.
My older sister, which was 23 at the time, became my mother, legally. Unfortunately, we were the only Hispanic family in a Black community at one time, and projects, a mess. I ran away, eventually. grew up in a great home. And like you want. I'm here now, and I gotta say, everything's.
So what
I'm
do you
pleased to be here
get your strength
to
from?
do what I'm doing. I'm raising 4 children of my own. Their dads are there somewhere. I mean, they do see their father. I definitely push that. Finances, whatever. I'll pull the struggle. Got the kids. But yes, my kids are my kids. I don't care who's their dad. When I came into play, I actually told them a joke. I'm like, I have 4 kids, 10 baby daddies. That's not true. That's not true. That's just because on my road with being a prostitution, so.
For you, though, since you had that struggle and then that challenge, because that's like a double challenge. Because a lot of
You know
people
what I
try to
say? It's an experience. And I don't.
But where'd you get the strength though?
You know, all this stuff with the dads being there, and I gotta tell you, it takes support and a powerful person. I care less whether it's a mom, a dad. I agree. It's support you if you got guys in your
Yes.
Actually was in his office one time. No.
He has that $10 retaining wall, okay.
Right. I got this.
I got this, right?
I'm Jeff Loving. It's great to be here. I play the judge.
Oh, you in the play too?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a realist, and I expect accountability. That's right. But I also expect accountability in my personal and professional life from everybody. That's basically who I am. And
you guys lecture your clients when the parents come in there and they're divorced and they're fighting over the kids and nobody's taking the kids' side of the consideration. Do you get to the lecture mode?
yeah, I do that. Sometimes I have to get tough with my clients. Sometimes I have to get them in therapy. Sometimes I have to get the other side in therapy. Sometimes there's anger management issues. Over the years, I've handled cases where people have been murdered, have been accused of murder, and it takes me back to when I went to high school in Bowen. I don't know if Bowen is on this.
Yeah.
So that's where I went. And Bowen was sort of a nightmare for me. You know, you go into school, you know, worried about getting beaten up every day or things happening. And I remember one day I was sitting in the cafeteria and it was sort of a mess there. I remember one real good-looking student, and he lived with his mother and she was homeless. And he used to sell Playboys for 25 cents a magazine. He'd steal them. And he was in my drafting class. And he was real good-looking. The women liked him. And that's why he got shot to death by some gangbangers. It was right in the cafeteria. When I was with him, talking to him, and I was eating a hamburger, and some gangbangers just came in and shot and killed him.
In the school?
Yeah, I was in the cafeteria, no police, nobody. Well, after the shooting, the police finally got there, and after that I figured, you know, when I grow up, I'm gonna have to move out of Chicago. But I never moved out of Chicago. So part of what I do now is sort of related to how I grew up and what I experienced and things I'd like to change.
Well, you feel those kids had fathers, they wouldn't shoot people in the one hand?
Yeah, well, I was like that one guy, I know he didn't have a father, he didn't know who his father was. He lived with his mom who had no job, and it was, he had a real tough situation, you know, so, like after this, I had to go back to my office, I had the father coming in, his son was just killed. Actually, he's waiting there for me right now, so after this, I have to...
Now, so we're gonna conclude so we can get you out of here. But you know what, Diane, he just gave you guys something else. We have to get our next group session together and talk about mental illness.
I was gonna bring it up earlier.
Okay.
That's a big problem.
See,
Big problem.
that's when you saw, we talk about suicide, we talk about you shooting you, but then where does it derive from?
Yeah.
Not because the father's not in the household, maybe because of mental illness, social malady.
We have to look at everything. If some forms of mental illness are treatable. Unfortunately, not all of them are, but some of them are. And the ones that are treatable, you want to treat, but due to cuts in
But you need to work on
financial
governance so
cuts.
we can get mental illness institutions in Illinois.
I agree with you.
Okay, Mr. Martin.
I'm William Martin, I'm the producer and manager. I'm not gonna, I may play a part or not in the play, but basically I'm the producer and manager. I think it's more important to move on to these great actors.
Minus of you.
I'm Diane Martin, I'm the playwright, executive director and producer, and I play orderly, and I play a pimp. And, I wrote somebody else's baby because, you know, going back to what you said, you know, we want to, you know, prevent it from becoming our babies. And so that's ultimately the whole system is.
I like that title.
Thank you.
I am Stephen Davis. I play TKO. As Ms. Martin said, I am a person who tries his best to avoid any and every situation that's bad in my point of view. Then I get thrown in the situation, then it not only affects me, but everyone surrounding me.
Yes.
And that's basically what TKO.
Appreciate you. You haven't said a word since we've been.
No.
My name is Marita Peterson and I play Tony. And basically my character, I'm sweet and I'm shy, I'm smart, I'm a nerd. And I really didn't know what this play was going to be about when I first started. And then when I found out about it, it actually was something close to my heart and my family heart because my brother was killed when he was 16. And it just means a lot for people to know what's going on. And it's not just Chicago, I grew in Harvey. And it's just as bad out here in the suburbs as well as in Chicago. And it's just a lot of people kind of put more focus on Chicago rather than what's going on in Harvey, Chicago Heights, and you know, all these other places.
Well, see, that's what we're doing, it's about the young lives. So we don't only want to say Chicago, like you said, a dead child is a dead child.
Right.
Not wherever. So hopefully, you know, we're one of the ground floor groups that's trying to bring the message out. We have to save lives, not Chicago.
Hi, I'm Whitney Pipes and I play the police and the detective in this play. And when I auditioned, I didn't know what the play was about, but it has a powerful message. I think the police in our community are very important and they are there, but I think there needs to be more. I think people need to speak up when they do see something. I think that's a big message in this crime with violence, sexual violence against women, gun violence and everything. We need to speak up and talk about it. It's a lot of silence in our community and I think that's a really important part of the play that we're in.
Let me start by Jeffrey. Do you think that this code of silence they always talk about code of silence? And say we could do a whole nother show on that because I don't even agree with that. But I think I'm contrary. Whatever the norm is, I disagree with it. But this code of silence, you know how they always say, especially Father Player always said, well, break the code of silence. You know, if you know something, say something. And giving the indication that because the young lady got shot at the real estate office, if Martin knew who did it, that he wouldn't tell because there's this black thing going. We don't unify on nothing else, but we unify on this code of silence. And then even though he won't tell because of this black code. Do you feel that there's any legitimacy to that?
Well, the code of silence is pretty complicated. If you could save lives by breaking it, break it. But to me, my opinion on that is you have to look at it on a case-by-case basis, which a lot of people may not agree with, but you got to look at it individually to see what's at risk and what's going on.
But see, if I think the code of silence theory that they have, I'm telling you, because we don't unify on anything else, but we got this one code going on in the black community that if I know who shot your child, I'm not going to say because I'm going to violate the blackness of it.
But it's not even, people go to prison for life. because of that code of silence. They'll spend life in prison, knowing who did it and knowing they didn't do it, but won't tell who did it.
But is it a code of silence or a trust factor? Because to me, if I knew somebody shot somebody, I'm not too quick to go outside and talk to them.
Fear.
But that's fear. It's fear.
And I'm not afraid of you shooting me, I just don't trust that police officer, and I'm just not getting ready to get involved with
Well,
you.
the police have sometimes done a little code of silence themselves.
Yeah, they do.
I was involved in a case, I'll never forget, where this woman was shot to death, and I was involved in suing the police, and she was an African-American woman in a poor community, and I believe that that was the reason why the police did not directly respond to her call, and I believe instead they went to White Castle first. Then when they got there, she was, because I recently spoke to the judge over the case after the case was over, because I went and talked to him privately before.
Yeah, we know about that.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. And he was telling me how outraged he was when the police got there. They didn't even open the door and walk in. You know, they're knocking on the door and it's open. Yeah. And what did bother me, the judge.
Because of that, more so than, we kind of take Kim from her. But that's another story, we're gonna go with her.
And I know, by the way, we won that case.
That's good.
My name is Jeanette. I play Angel's mother. I don't have a name. When I first got into this, I'm an aspiring actress as well. When I first got into it, I'm like, okay, cool, another opportunity for me to get on the spotlight. But then once I got into it, and Diane started elaborating more on what it was about and how she wanted to make a positive stamp on what's going on in our reality, it took a different toll from me. And I personally don't have anybody that's been affected by gun violence, but like Loretta was saying, it is prevalent in the suburbs. And just, I want to say, last year or so, or sometime this year, it's been a lot of violence going on in Harvey and in Riverdale and in Dalton. And it's not getting blown up like it is in Chicago. And what I want to do as far as helping out is continue to make a positive stand for what's right. And just to continue to be a positive role model for women that are my age and younger.
What we need, another commitment.
My name is Emma Johnson, and I play the role of a church mother, Mrs. Phelps, Eddie Mae Phelps. And I got involved because I know Diane and William, and I know their causes, because I used to watch his Facebook posting of the killings, and I call it the killing field. And I remember reading one of the posters out there that said, "Why do you put this out there?" You remember? Yeah, why do you put this out here every day? But I know their causes, and I'm a civil rights activist in my own right from back in the 60s. And I've always wanted to help any cause, and I know what they stand for, and I know what it's like. I've had family members killed in the city. I've had family members, many of them killed in the city, young men. And it impacted me to be a part of that cause, if we could help somebody. And by me being a church mother, playing the role of a church mother, I constantly talk to young people all the time at church to steer them in the right direction. Even when I was working in that school, I did the same thing, tried to steer them in the right direction. I tried to help those young men and women, give them information about expungements and all that stuff, where they could go volunteer at the expungement fair, just to be a part of an activism to promote our young people and keep them out of trouble.
I appreciate that. I thank you on their behalf. Because it takes, I like when she did speak up. I can always help. But I like what she said earlier about reminding us, I'm talking about the history part, if we can keep educating, reminding our children from whence we've come, they can see how far we can go.
Yeah.
So I like the community thing, don't talk about the switch stuff, but I like the fact that the community, that when I see I take the train, I'm on the red line, and then sometimes I gotta remember to get back in my body. One of the kids that at the school that I used to work at was cursing this elderly lady out. I get up out my seat like that's my child. I get up going on there, I'm like, girl, what are you? She said, no, it's not me, it's her. You need to tell her. But let me tell you what I can't do. We can't control her. Let's work on self. That's right. You know, just let it go. Let her have her, and you work on you. Because it's not even about what she's saying. Right. It's about not losing you to what she's saying. So it goes back to the community. And so then that's why you have the kids and they're all on Facebook talking about, Miss Flint, I went in the middle of the fight, so I'm going to get her one day. You know, but I forgot not to get involved.
That's right.
Because I didn't know what was worse, the fact that you were cursing this adult out or the fact that you were just upset. But either way, my message is always, we can't control them. Let's work on self. And so, you know, she still was mumbling on her breath, but all the cursing back and forth stopped, because she just was going there. You know, and I'm like, this is my thing at school. I'm back. Gonna be one. Okay, go on.
All right. My name is Jason Tolliver.
Somebody else who haven't spoken since we've been here.
I played the role of Snooky. Snooky is a gang member. Ruthless kind of guy, doesn't care about anything but making money, doing anything to get it. Read the script, fell in love with it. Diane's an incredible author. I think the play is, you know, to make you laugh, make you cry. It's real deep, shocking, and as you can see, definitely got to come out with July 26th. I've had a father in my life. I feel like if you got that person that cares about you, believes in you, that's probably the most important thing. One of the best feelings is making somebody that cares about you and believes in you proud of you. And one of the worst feelings is disappointing that person. So I figured you got that support system, you should be good. That's what I say. Thank you.
My name's Felton Armand, and I play pastor. And I guess what I'd like to say is that growing up, I grew up around 79th Street, 79th and Vincennes, and that was a bad neighborhood. And then I actually took the bus all the way to the Roseland area to go to Fanger High School, which back in the day was the worst school in the city. And I remember back then we had the murder of Stephen Watts. He was a star football player. He got shot coming home from a party. And then you fast forward, you know, over 30 some odd years later, and in 2009, Darian Albert was killed going home from school. And that's so unfortunate because so often you'd like to think that the school that you went to, the neighborhood that school was in would get better over time. And Roseland is one of those areas where the community has actually gotten worse over time. It's actually worse, in worse condition than when it was when I went to high school. As far as what got me interested in this play, it was really the conversation with Diane. It was the passion. She had so much passion about the play. I said, I'm going to investigate this further. And after seeing the script, I thought this is a great project to be involved in. What am I doing as far as reaching out to the young people of the world? Well, first of all, I have been involved, and I support Real Men Cook. They promote fatherhood. Every Father's Day, they hold an event. I'm involved with Toastmasters International. We have a youth leadership program, which we just recently reached out to Principal Dozier after seeing her on the Chicagoland documentary to offer her that youth leadership program in that high school. And third, one of the big questions was, how does one thrive when you come from such a negative environment? So what I've done is start to distill that, and I've actually written a book called Newest Runs Away, and it highlights the focus of a child's journey from running away through the system and then ultimately ending up in a loving foster care. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bridget Shorter, and I play Mrs. Owens, TKO's mom, Mr. Owens' wife, in this play. We all come from different walks of life, whether there was a father, and I totally agree with Isela, we all come from different walks of life. You asked the question initially, how does the youth get involved in the gangs and things? Whether there is a father, whether there is a mother, I'm a product of not ever knowing who my father was. I am also a single mom. But it does take a village. It does. You have your churches, your community, I am also a mentor. I also am starting my own foundation of Beautiful Me, which is empowering young women. I was a teen parent, so what I do currently is mentor youth, the young ladies at this time. But it's a lot of things that when your household is in a wreck. I used to work for an entity of DCFS, so I saw where there was not parents, but those children were graduating, those children were becoming successful. So everybody has a different story. I don't necessarily believe that it's because of the absence. I know that the absence of a father is definitely detrimental, because I, to this day at 38, feel that void of not having or knowing my real father. But at the same time, because I had a community that helped me grow into the woman that I am today, that is what's important. So it's everybody's responsibility. It's when society throws those things out in media, it is not just the parents, but it's everyone. We all take a part in the responsibility of why there are children killing children. We all take a responsibility of that, because we can't hold, because of everybody coming from a different background. So, and of course with the help of God, who is our provider, who takes care of us. So those things are definitely important. And what I love about Miss Diane and Dr. Martin is their spirit, first of all. They are very passionate people. And I just met them with the audition. Very passionate about what it is, and I support them 100% on this project, because it's not just, I wrote a book, and even though she didn't know that she had purpose for her book, which it came to fruition now, that when you mentioned movie, be ready for it. She didn't know what her purpose was, but God knew that it was a higher calling for this to go forth to the world. So I 100% applaud them, and I thank them for choosing me and us to be a part of this project. Thank you.
I do have.
Thank you.
My name is Wanda Vesquez, and I think God led me to Diane through Facebook. I had a supervisor at the post office named Diane Martin, so I sent a friend request, and I thought that's who she was, and then a couple of years later, here we are. And I just would love to be a part of anything Diane is involved with, because she is about doing good things. And well, I just like to say that I was a troubled youth. I was headed in the wrong direction. In the play, I'm playing Brenda, a prostitute. And going back to my childhood, I grew up in Roseland, and I probably would have been a real prostitute today, judging by the way my childhood was, where I was headed. Either strung out on drugs, dying from AIDS, or a prostitute, or any of the above. So I can relate to what's going on in the communities today, and that's why I'm so passionate about what's going on with our youth, because it's something.
Make sure you tell about your organization.
Oh, okay. Going back to the organization, I'm the co-founder of PAC. James Fields is the founder. And like us on Facebook, PAC Prisoners Against Crime is the name of the organization. And I just wanted to pull out a few of the testimonials, or one of the testimonials. The one I was telling you about, he got 60 years. He was just in a car with some gangbangers, and one of the gangbangers shot somebody, and while they were from the car, and they all blamed it on him. And he got 60 years for something he didn't do, and he was a teenager. And some of these testimonials that I get, the guys talk about how their mother was a prostitute, and she would make them go out and sell drugs. And she wouldn't get, one of the guys, she wouldn't get him out of jail unless he would promise when he go back out on the street, he would sell drugs and get her drugs. And his mother would sleep with his friends, because his friends were drug dealers, sleep with them to get drugs. And some of these kids, they just being thrown into this lifestyle. Some of these kids, they say my uncle was a gangbanger, my father was a gangbanger. My father was actually proud when I joined the gang. So some of these kids, they really don't want to be in this lifestyle, but it's all they know. And like I said, we just trying to educate kids and let them know that when you go to prison, it's not glamorous at all. And they're going to forget about you. And you're going to get there. Sometimes your own family, your mother, your father, your brothers, your sisters, your friends, you're just going to be all alone. Nobody's going to come and visit you. Some of these guys haven't had visits in 15 years, and they're just there. It's just a lonely life. It's not somewhere you want to be at all.
Well, I thank you guys. You know what? I'm going to applaud Diane again. First of all, for being a writer and motivator and inspirator. The other thing is I'm going to congratulate each of you guys for taking that stance to being in the play for whatever your reasons, because you want to, because you want to be an actor. Then I invite you.
I have one thing you need to clarify. The part of me being a runaway, I was running away from the streets, not from
your family, from your sister, right?
Because me and my siblings are the closest things ever.
Okay,
There's 9 of us, probably like 35 grandchildren, great-grandchildren all together. It's awful.
That's good. That's a good
clarify that. I run away from my family. I was at my mother's.
Okay, so that's beautiful to know, because she came through it. Really like your message, reminding us that something all about the history, going back from which we come, and that's how we got to where we're at. And it takes a star to get to where you're going. For those, Mr. Levitt, who does not have the father in the household, then the rest have to pick up that son. Every child, every day, one child at a time. I have a pet peeve at the school when they tell me you can't save every child. The only thing I get to say to myself is you better be glad that the job passes it. Because I'm not talking about every child. I'm talking about that child that I'm dealing with at that moment. So don't let that go with we can't save every child, because didn't nobody give you the challenge for every child. They gave you the child that's before you. So if you save that child, Diane got that child, Jeffrey got those children, he got $1. He get more than one. Right, he get more than one. He get more than one. And I have a child, then that means we have at least 5, 6 children that we save. Yes. So as we conclude, there's a couple things. Like I say, we have this groupification that we have started here today, that each of us is going to try to save a child because. And the because, like she said, the reasons vary. Because you came up in a 2-parent household and you know the glory of it. Because you didn't come up in a 2-parent household and you made it anyway. Because he's done the research, has talked to the families and cried to the families and cursed the families out. But we're all committed to try to save one youth at a time, city and suburban. Because when a child is killed, even an adult is killed, it's not about that person being killed, but they don't even know they were here or gone. It's about all the people who leave behind. I too grew up on 79th and Ellis. And in my mindset, it was a good neighborhood. But what did I compare it to? Somebody telling me today that it wasn't. So I grew up on 79th and Ellis. I went to Finger High School. Again, I thought it was a good school. Because what was I going to compare it to? I never went to a different high school. So again, I graduated from Finger. I graduated 3 years. I graduated early. But I thought it was a good high school. Then I went off to college. Then I decided I didn't want to be with you guys no more, so I moved to the suburbs. And like she said, it ain't nothing changed. You can run, but you can't hide. Right. So, and then as I conclude, I want to be grateful that this is a mixed group. So when I stand here and tell you guys that when we stand before our youth, we want to say that we're proud to be Black. Yes. Not because we're anti any other group. And the reason why I say I stand for a mixed crowd, because it's whatever you are. Jeff, we don't want you to stop saying you're proud to be Black. But he is. The point is, see, but the thing is, whenever he stands up, the assumption is that he's proud.
Yes.
Why is that? Why is that? Why is the assumption that he's a proud man when he stands up?
Because he's doing great
Great,
things for
right,
Bob.
where he's to come.
No, because he's a white. The assumption is, nobody assumed because he's white that he's not proud. You don't know he had a struggle till he told us. So if you stand up, we assume that you don't talk about struggle. Okay, so therefore when you gotta stand up, you still have to say, not only are you proud, you're a proud black man. And you're not ashamed of that. And it's not a thing, and you don't need nobody's permission. I don't need to apologize. It's okay, I don't care if it's not okay with you. But we need our kids to understand that. And then with that, we start trying to instill in them that their greatness is within them, and regardless of the walk that they have to walk, the point is they can walk. And then her message is we're gonna walk with you. So I'm gonna conclude with saying, it's not about the money. That's where the kids have got confused. Because we all want to make money, but not in spite of ourselves. Because now today the kids have the quote unquote middle class things, and we're losing them day by day. Why? Because it's not about money. It's about self. Because when you learn, whoever instilled in you that it's okay to be you, gave you all the money you can ever get in the street. Because the money's gonna still be out here, and it's for somebody to get. You have to understand that you have the opportunity. But if you're only caught up on the things that the money represents, it goes back to the young lady who had the dad, who thought as long as I put the money there, I've done my part.
I just wanted to kind of interject off of that when I was introduced to this production from castmate Felton, I had to sit down and have a conversation with Miss Diane. And when I looked at my fellow castmates rehearsing this, it made me notice that we are all here. So any one of us could have been cast, and someone else could have been here, but we are all here for a reason. We all share a personal story that reflects to this production.
And to society.
And to society as well. And just looking at everything, we now, in this day and age, live in a society where people pay more attention to your number of contacts than the amount of contact you have. And I was really looking at that and noticing how Dr. Martin was saying that how he posted things from incidents from January like that, and no one liked them. No. But see, we can see on Facebook that people have more likes from an article that Beyonce's sister had.
Yes.
And that's very disturbing.
Yes, it is.
Being that we are all casted, we have a small voice that society try to silence. And now that we have in this production, it is now our responsibility to project the voice that society tries to silence.
Loud voice with a loud message. Okay, so that's very well said. I appreciate that. So as we conclude, we're going to say it's not about the money, recognizing that your strengths are from within, and that we need as a community to help you recognize it. And he gonna run for governor. Because we need mental health facilities, or at least the resources. You know, because parents contact us all the time. My child is having this problem at home, or I try to be a good parent. And that's another thing too. Parents forget about what they did wrong, and then now these kids in the teenage years living the wrong, even though nobody's no longer talking about it. But what the reality is, that's okay too, because you've already done that. How do we help that parent get that child home? Because the parent called me, so I'm thinking, okay, no problem, we'll just get you, a social worker or a counselor. There's no more Marguerite. You sit on the hard road, they medicate, so you ain't no less crazy. Anyway, I'm not talking about that.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one last comment. I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but you can edit it. But I think it's about, we also need to learn how to uplift each other. Because I bought all of Diane's book and Never Would Have Seen Part 1, Part 2, Fallen Angel, Autumn Leaves. And if you read Diane books, you're right there. You feel everything that you're reading with these characters in her book. You're feeling everything right there. It's like, I'm right there. I'm right there. That's me. I'm right there. You know, if you just read her books, I'm just saying, I'm promoting her now. I'm plugging her. Yeah, but her
But it
books.
goes back to your theme about the community.
Right.
One hand helping the other.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
but somebody got to make money.
Yes.
So we're about to conclude this. I want to let you know that my eyes are watching you, and I can see the growth in each one of you. So my part of contributing for this groupification that we have going on, say the one child at a time. You could get my card or my number. So whatever you have going on, you know, I don't have much to offer, but I can bring a camera and a crew. So I will interview you. You can tell your story, or you know, your play or book or whatever you're doing. I'll talk about it. I always know that whatever we're talking about, I'm always talking about how can we say the youth. Yes. But that's just me, because this is my camera. But, you know, but other than that, I will interview you, tell your story. We air on Comcast. There's several shows. I have my show. Mary has her show. We have another girlfriend that does the radio and TV. And then I write. So any show I do, I also write an article on you. So you know, so I can give you a little media, you know, exposure. So my eyes are watching you, and we got to do it one child at a time. Thank you, Diane.
And thank you everyone for coming out. I hope you had a good time. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.